Join me as I challenge myself to paint like a pro by fixing some common mistakes on these mini scrapwood winter wonderland scenes. Mini scrapwood winter wonderland scenes have become super popular in DIY crafts, and it's easy to see why. They're adorable, fun to make, and add a touch of magic to any room. Painting these scenes can be a bit tricky, and it's common to end up with uneven colors or lack of detail. Uneven colors can really throw off the whole vibe of the scene, making it look more like a messy experiment than a winter wonderland. This often happens when the paint isn't mixed well or if the layers are applied too heavily. Lack of detail is another issue, where the scene might look flat and uninteresting, missing the intricate touches that bring it to life. This can be due to using the wrong brushes or not taking the time to add in small features like snowflakes or texture. When these mistakes happen, it can be frustrating and tempting to just start over, but with a few techniques, it's possible to fix them and end up with a beautiful scene. To fix uneven colors, it's all about layering the paint and using the right brushes. Choosing the right brush for the job makes all the difference, a small brush for details and a larger one for backgrounds. Applying texture is also key, whether it's with paint or other materials, to give the scene some depth and visual interest. Layering paint allows for a more nuanced color palette, and it's easier to build up to the desired shade rather than trying to get it just right with one coat. This takes a bit of patience, but the end result is worth it. Using a mix of matte and glossy finishes can also add a lot of visual interest to the scene, making it more dynamic and engaging. Let's take a look at a dramatic transformation of a poorly painted scene into a stunning winter wonderland. This scene was initially painted with too much blue, making it look more like a summer sky than a winter wonderland. By layering on some whites and grays, and adding in some details like snowflakes and trees, it's completely transformed. The addition of some texture, like glitter or small rocks, gives it a more realistic feel. This scene is a great example of how a few simple fixes can take a painting from bland to grand. With these fixes, the scene goes from being a mess to a beautiful winter wonderland that's perfect for decorating any room. The main fixes we discussed are layering paint, choosing the right brushes, and applying texture. These can make all the difference in turning a poorly painted scene into a stunning winter wonderland, and I think it's something that a lot of artists can relate to. It's all about pushing our creativity and seeing what we can come up with when we're faced with limitations. Using only two colors is a lot harder than it sounds, because it requires a lot of thought and planning to make sure the colors work well together. If the colors clash, the whole piece can look off, and if they're too similar, it can be boring. I have to consider the contrast between the two colors, and how I can use that to create depth and interest in the piece. This challenge is also making me think about the role of color in art, and how it can be used to evoke emotions and convey meaning. The limitations of using only two colors are also evident in the way I have to think about composition and balance. I have to make sure that the colors are distributed in a way that creates a sense of harmony, and that the piece doesn't feel too heavy or too light. This is where the real challenge comes in, because it's easy to get stuck in a rut and feel like I'm not making progress. I have to keep reminding myself that it's okay to take risks and try new things, even if they don't work out. As I started thinking about which two colors to use, I realized that the possibilities are endless. I could go for a bold and bright combination, or something more muted and subtle. I decided to choose two colors that are quite different from each other, to see if I could make them work together in a cohesive way. I'm excited to see how this will turn out, and whether I'll be able to create something that's really visually striking. I've been looking at a lot of different artists and styles for inspiration, and I've noticed that some of the most striking pieces are the ones that use a limited color palette. There's something about the simplicity and restraint of using only two colors that can be really powerful, and I'm hoping to tap into that in my own piece. I'm planning to use a combination of bold brush strokes and delicate details to create a sense of texture and depth. As I started working on my piece, I began to see the colors come together in a way that was really surprising. The contrast between the two colors was creating a sense of energy and movement, and I was able to use that to guide the composition of the piece. I was also experimenting with different techniques, like layering and blending, to see how I could create a sense of depth and dimensionality. The more I worked on the piece, the more I started to see it come together. The colors were beginning to harmonize, and the composition was starting to feel more balanced. I was getting a sense of the overall mood and atmosphere of the piece, and I was excited to see where it would take me. The challenge of using only two colors was really pushing me to think creatively, and I was loving the process of discovery and experimentation. As the piece neared completion, I stepped back to take a look at it, and I was amazed at how far it had come. The two colors had transformed into a beautiful, cohesive work of art that was full of energy and life. I was struck by the way the colors seemed to dance together, creating a sense of movement and flow. It was a really surprising outcome, and it made me realize just how much potential there is in using limited colors. The journey of creating this artwork has been really eye-opening, and I've learned a lot about the importance of restraint and limitation in the creative process. By working with only 2 colors, I was forced to think outside the box and come up with new and innovative solutions. The beauty that can emerge from limitations is really something special, and it's a lesson that I'll carry with me in all my future creative endeavors. Today, I'm taking on the challenge of creating a mini masterpiece using just 2 colors. It was a fun challenge, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on the final piece. Do you think I was able to create a mini masterpiece with just 2 colors? Share your own experiences with limited color palettes in the comments below, and don't forget to check out my other videos for more creative challenges and artistic experiments.